Hello. I'm so happy to be here with you, Jennifer, and with all of you. This video is going to be on YouTube as usual. So we're getting ready to have a nice conversation. Jennifer, so happy to be with you and be talking about psychology. We're going to be talking today about psychology. For those who are checking our content for the first time, I'm Dr. Velasquez. I'm a neurologist. And 5 years ago, I started learning more and practicing more and teaching more about integrative well-being, integrative living, which is very important for prevention of illnesses and healing. So we do education. I have been collaborating with Jennifer for a couple of years now. And yeah, we have an exciting topic to discuss today. Let us see what Jennifer says. Feel free, Jennifer, to introduce yourself and bring the topic to the table.
Sure. So my professional last name when I go by is Jennifer Brown. I did recently get married, but I'm keeping my maiden name. So if anyone is interested and wants to know more about me, PhD student, and I'm studying health psychology. And one of my last electives I'm taking is complementary and alternative medicine. So I've been enjoying this course. It's really helping me understand how different patient populations can benefit from different types of medical treatments that aren't all focused on Western medicine. And it's been a little challenging to find any any research studies, for people with FND because there's just so little research out there. So this talk is really to help me understand more about different types of whole medical systems and how research can be applied for patients in general, but also people for FND, chronic pain, migraines, any type of physical or psychological condition.
Yes. So language. We communicate through language and language changes, varies over time. So I guess I'm going to stay with two words for the as foundational concepts, words understanding for our talk. And that's going to be integrative, right? Am I correct? Integrative,
Yeah, more
integration,
than
whole
just
body. Huh?
the physical, but yeah.
What did you say? Repeat that.
Well, it's more than just, treating the physical body. So yeah, integrating
Yeah,
multiple systems.
like whole
Mhm.
person, right? Whole person. I guess other words that are hot words out there. It's a holistic, right? Whole, holistic, integration, integrative. And then there is a little bit of like alternative. There is also a word of alternative because we're looking not at the mainstream scientific and psychological knowledge, but we are going a little bit on the side and pulling from ancient traditions and expanding globally also, right? Because you even mentioned Ayurveda, Eastern traditions. So this assignment and this conversation is broad also across the globe and across time. So it's a little bit of alternative to the mainstream that we have in America, which is one of the countries where we practice, right? Am I correct, Jennifer? Am I understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so those words. When I started studying integration alternative medicine, which I started reviewing that because I realized that neurology was being very cognitive and we were using cognitive behavioral therapy for functional illnesses in general, many of which are psychological in nature or have psychological comorbidities or have a psychological component. The mind is there. So functional illnesses were very cognitive and it was not working out CBT was not giving the results that I wanted for my patients. It was not helping them. So I started expanding and researching. This was during the pandemic. Then, when I, as a neurologist, Jennifer, listen to me carefully. When I, as a neurologist, expert in all the pathways of the brain and peripheral nervous system, when I, as a neurologist, studying I am an electrophysiologist. So all the pathways of electricity from the brain, EEG, electroencephalogram, to the periphery, EMG, nerve conduction studies. I am an electrophysiologist. When I started looking at all the pathways as a neurologist and trying to correlate that with psychological and functional illnesses and disorder, I realized, okay, we can divide these. We have the cognitive system, yes, but we also have the limbic system. We have the conscious, we have the subconscious. We have the somatosensory pathways of the physical body. We have the autonomic nervous system, right? And all that is inserted in the environment. So me, as a neurologist, I wanted and I needed a modality that was not CBT and cognitive focus. I needed something emotionally. I needed something physical. I needed something societal, environmental, spiritual, right? I needed all of it. So I started going back in history because of a psychiatrist recommended me that. He said, oh, the most comprehensive is in South America in the ancient tradition. So I went and I reviewed that. Let me show you. Let me show you what I found. I'm going to show you Google. Just Google. And I'm going to show you, this is going to be recorded in the video. Someone told me, hey, what you're talking about is the same, what you're talking about as a neurologist is the same that the Native Americans and the ancient healers from ancient traditions from all over the world have been talking about. And that's the legacy, the archaeological sites that they left us, the medicinal wheel. And you can see that the medicinal wheel that have been left throughout the world has thousands of years old. So it's much, much older than modern medicine. It's much more older than the Roman Empire, Socrates, Hippocrates, right? All Freud, like all the people who have influenced modern psychology and modern medicine. So I went to the root of healing. The ancient Native American and from other parts of the world medicinal wheel. And then you can type that in Google, in PubMed, and then you're gonna have many articles. So the evidence starts there. And we're talking about thousands of years of life and evidence. Okay, so the archaeological sites are there, the proof is there. But how about the knowledge? What does this mean? What is this about? So I had to go to the deepest jungles and I had to go to the highest mountains to search for the original wisdom that had not been changed by modernity. Right? So I had to go deep, deep where people didn't even speak our language. They still spoke the native tongues of the land. And I have been in Africa doing that research and in Brazil and in Peru and in Mexico. Then I put together, I did research interviewing people and I put it together in a book. It was too much and too complex to publish it as a peer review article. So I put together in a book what this medicinal wheel is about. What do they say about healing? How do we influence these four networks. How do we do integrative, holistic approach? They knew it. They knew it how to do it. They explained it to me. I put it in a book and I presented it uh, in the Functional Neurological Disorder Society meeting of 2022. I presented it that. And I published a summary and I talked to many people. The native medicine wheels approach to functional illness. They know these diseases. They treat it all the time, the same as psychological. So this is it. And it's very simple. I told you, Jennifer, you have been testing this model with me for 8 weeks, because, right, we have been talking about. So what I did was, so if you see here, right, in the paper, right, in the paper that I publish and what we have been using in the conversations, it's kind of a 4 directions medicinal wheel as well. We have the mind, we have the emotions, we have the body, we have the environment. Of course, this is scientific, so I also put here the autonomic nervous system. And then when you look at the medicinal wheel, then, oh, did I close it? Maybe I close it. I have it in my website too. When you look at the medicinal wheel, you have it here. Oh, here. It's also divided in 4. It's divided in 4. So what I just did was the correlation between the scientific evidence and the ancestral evidence. Why? 10, 20, 30,000, actually the evidence, the popular evidence, the wisdom that has been transmitted is 30,000 years old, approximately. They didn't have deep knowledge of the nervous system. So they transmit the wisdom very easily, very simple. And they say, yes, you have to focus on the 4 aspects of our existence, but because it can get too complicated and not to leave outside, study and practice any aspects of the human experience, the 4 seasons, and this is key to understand the methodology and the philosophy. Each one of the seasons, so 3 months every year, you dedicate to analyze, study, practice, and perfect one of the networks, one of the aspects of your life. In the spring, you start learning about what is a spirit, what is my soul, who am I, how am I unique, what does it mean, my relationship to the environment, to the plants, to the water, to the oxygen, to the wind, to the sun, to the earth, all these names, right? What is a spirit? What is religion? What does this mean? Who am I in the universe? What is the meaning of the stars? So they say that this is the first thing that they start teaching kids, and asking these questions with children in the spring. Then in the summer, it's about emotions. They start talking about emotions, perfecting interpersonal relationships, exploring what are emotions, how does it feel in the body, in the heart, all this. Then in the fall, in the autumn is about the physical body, getting stronger, getting to know how the body functions, the digestive system, our vision, practicing attention in the environment, everything that is physical and material within us and in the environment. And in the winter, and it's interesting, it's the last one. Lastly, at the end, every year, they study the mind. What is this mind? What does the mind do? How does it perceive a spirit? How does it understand? How does it understand and perceive emotions? What does it do with it? How does it make choices for the physical body? How does it read the signals of the body? How does the mind utilizes the resources in the planet? And that's it. I have been spending some years perfecting the interconnection and practicing the model. Sometimes it is more scientific, sometimes it is more nature based and popular, depending on the population. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take in. I think from like just looking back at it, it looks I feel like being from like the Western society, we're completely different from other countries, and the fact that we don't, don't consider all of these different things. We don't consider a whole lot of spiritual aspect. People have religion and they have the state. They separate a lot of things, and a lot of modern medicine just doesn't think about or integrate any of this stuff. We have people that do that, but usually it's probably not covered within like medical care. It's like completely separate. And it's kind of hard to think about all of this because you never thought of it before. I never really considered, how the spiritual life actually affects me, how it affects other people, and how it kind of strings me and my family and the people around me along. So I think there's so much that we can learn from these models, and it's discouraging that it takes a really long time to promote it because it is so rich in historic, history, but at least in America, it's just not regarded well. But I feel like there are, there are improvements in society and there's more of a diversity in these type of approaches, but I feel like there's still a lot of pushback. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I took notes of what you were saying, because you spoke very spontaneous and intuitively from an integrative whole person perspective. You were very connected to yourself. I took notes and I'll send them to you in case you wanna. You described pretty much the problems, right? The problematic, like we are not doing this, we don't know this. So this is important. And then you also describe some of the challenges of utilizing whole person models and integrative models and ancient models, because you are right. If we want to, you're studying uh, branches of psychology, you, Jennifer, derive from your personal experience that are holistic, integrative, that are more advanced. So you are looking into how to solve society's problems because there is a functional pandemic, pretty much. If you consider all the different diagnoses, you describe the challenges to apply to incorporate this model. And this is key. It is key to look at the problems because if we want to get to the beach, we need to see, okay, what are the possible challenges? Sunscreen, we need gas, we need food. Let us get prepared. Let us pack everything. Let us overcome the potential challenges to get to our destination. And then when it comes to the model, you have been taking it. We have been practicing, right? I have been trying to practice with you and others. What do you think? Do you think it would be like easier to implement in some schools, some medical schools or psychological school or some patients? Over how long? Over 1 year? We have been together practicing for 8 weeks. 4 weeks first, and then we did every other week, right? So it's like 1 month, and then it has been 2 months. So for 3 months, we have been doing an 8 conversation sessions where we kind of practice. It's very practical. We have been doing. I didn't even introduce the philosophy, the methodology, the ancient part, the history of it. I didn't even talk about it before. We got to the conversations and it was very practical. In your experience, how long do you think this would take for others to understand and apply practically? Like, what comes to your mind?
I think for if you're trying to apply it to children, it would probably be easier because, they're kind of learning about the world and themselves. So when you study at school, or even if you just have like one class or one, uh, you know, guest speaker in your class, like I think you're more open to wanting to learn more about it, and also just learning about like just our whole world. And you don't have all these like preconceived notions. You don't have these, uh, people saying, "Oh, this is not what we know. This isn't empirical. This isn't scientific. This, you know, you don't really have all of that." But I think for adults, it would take longer. But I think it just depends on their openness to understanding it. I think if you're very set on like what the West, the Western society believes and promotes and educates, it would be more difficult because there's going to be a lot of pushback. Um,
Yes, yes, I totally agree. I think it's two main populations to kind of explore with and partner up with. And those would be medical schools, psychological schools, maybe some kind of upskill programs for other young students, and then it would be the patient population, right? The sick, or those who need some sort of integrative wisdom approach, holistic approach, because independent modalities like CBT or psychoanalysis or psychodynamics, independent approaches haven't worked. So they are ready to try something more comprehensive. So two populations, that's good, right? That's good. Where should we take the conversation? How are you feeling? What do you think we should talk about next? Or would you like to make a pause and continue in the afternoon, evening? Just check in with yourself.
well, I guess I'm wondering who is like actually qualified, or who is the person that's going to be providing all this information. Because I was thinking, if we're talking about the medical system, like health coaches would be a good option for at least introducing the ideas. But I'm wondering, are they the ones that are going to be like providing all of the psychoeducation? Or is it going to be like a social worker? Is it going to be a historical society? Um, that's what I'm kind of wondering. It's like, who's going to be the person that is promoting it and teaching it, and how that's going to be continued in patient population specifically.
Yes, yes, very, very good question. I think that your question and your comment, it has various points of wisdom that we should look at. One is that you mention other fields of potential interest and potential collaboration. Health coaches, social worker, and historical societies. Why not? Yes, yes. who who is going to want to test it, to want to implement it, to want to practice, to want to research it? Because remember, if we want to move forward designing and implementing this integrative model or something very similar, you and me and others that will come along the way, it will have to have research also, and analysis of the results, analysis of the impact. So we're talking about a career and efforts that will last a few years, but that is okay because we have to live. We have to enjoy life. We have to be creative, and we're going to be doing it along the time. So we live a good life contributing. And our next paper is about social activism actions. This paper is getting published this month, and we have another paper about social activism. Considering what we wrote about social activism, I think it's about contacting them all. It can be, for example, we focus on Florida State, or we focus in Colorado, and we find one medical school, one psychological school, one health coach, training company, one worker school, and one historical society. We're talking about like 5 emails of 5 different branches of knowledge. 5 emails. And we contact them and say, like, hey, we have this. If you write a paper about this, a white paper about this, even the paper, we can send them the paper, send them this video or something else and say, like, hey, we're working on this project. Are you with us? And see who is interested. And then we have a conversation, talking, aligning, understanding thoughts, emotions, desires, concerns. We align that and we together develop a program to move forward, to test it, to implement it, to study the results of the impact and all that. That's what comes to my mind. I wonder what's happening within you, what's
I think that's
reverberating.
pretty
Uh-huh.
practical. I think those are all really good options. I know you can. I know you have like online educational courses. I'm wondering if these, if you were to like implement um, these trainings, would they be in person or would they be um, virtual? Like, would you actually share the information with the colleges or universities, or would you be, uh, doing a recorded session, like a Zoom session with the the schools? Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, talking about what I have already been testing over the past few years, I travel as part of the educational and social activist efforts and touch, face to face, touch, uh, direct contact, even acupuncture, physical therapy, and some therapies that are already established and could improve. Imagine if the acupuncturist and the physical therapist, imagine if they would know a little bit more about emotions and cognitive mind and autonomic nervous system and spirituality, how each field, each provider group could become holistic, could become integrative, right? So in person is very important too. So what I have been doing is we have some weeks that are online because it's more comfortable at home, right? We can reach wider audience. And then we also have some in-person training schedule sessions where we do a lot of the mind, body, breathing techniques. We do dancing. We play around with everything that is in person, interrelational and more physical, which is it's fun, it's interesting, and it's very useful when it comes to forming, to training a good professional that is well prepared in their physical office, because not everyone is 100% online. So we do a hybrid. Now, the other interesting thing that we have been doing is we bring patients. We bring patients to both settings, to the online and the in person. We bring patients and we do practices with real patients. If you look at the literature, the neurological literature, which is what I read the most, and you look at Freud, and you look at Charcot, and all these big neurologists and psychologists and psychiatrists throughout times, their trainings with their medical students and their apprentices was with real patients, real cases in the auditorium. So, because I look so much and value so much ancient knowledge, so we do the same model wherever we go, which is very nice. It's actually very nice.
It sounds really promising. It does sound a little hectic and chaotic and stressful, but I feel like the ultimate goal and like the outcomes would be worth it because there's just not enough people that know about it. And people want to know about it because they want to know more than just what their doctors say about maybe something they're telling them something that is never going to get better, or they're always going to keep having the same problem and they can't ever get results. And this is an option that people should know about.
Yes, definitely. I think we're heading towards the last few minutes, so we have a couple minutes to relax before our next conversation, which is actually a group discussion. To add to your important comment, you're bringing two concepts. One is psychological, how to communicate clearly, briefly, and with efficiency about this model, about the need for integration for whole person approach for whole medical systems. Clear communication. There is a little bit of psychology there. And it's how to overcome a challenge, which is ignorance. People don't know. So ignorance we're overcoming with a psychological concept of communication. This is nice and interesting, to write that in the paper and put it there. And then the other thing that you're mentioning is social activism. Well, there are millions of people in the United States, and many of those are sick. There are millions that are sick in the United States with functional illnesses, including our veterans. It's sad. It's something that we're talking about, and people don't know. So, if we want to get quickly at a good pace and get farther, we're going to need the help of the government, politicians, social activists, and even those in big companies who make millions, because America is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and people who care for the health of their employees and the health of the population they serve. So all the higher spheres of society, politicians and the rich, those who have resources, those who have power, we have to work together to develop campaigns of social education, whole person social education. If America does that, we are going to become even higher and further in healthcare and in social development, because we know they are interrelated. Anything else to close?
No, a lot of things to think about and plan out.
Sounds good. So I'm gonna try to upload the video quickly so you have the material in case you want to watch it again, in case you want us to have another conversation tonight about this. Whatever you feel, whatever you want to do, it's okay with me. So don't feel pressure to go in any direction. Follow your heart, follow your soul. Count me in. It has been already a tremendous pleasure to talk with you about this, to share a little bit this material in the world. And thank you so much for your partnership. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you in a little bit. Bye bye.